Long time.
We are live.
Live.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Janice. How are you, girl?
I am great. What a way you look bright and pretty. That
Of
color is
course.
your color.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
A little bit under the weather today, so you gotta spruce it up a little bit.
there you go. Well,
Yeah.
mission accomplished.
How are
Mission.
you, girl?
I am good. Today was a very busy day, but I'm good. I'm feeling really energized, which is um a little unusual at 7 o'clock in the evening, but I'm feeling good. Today was
Great.
a great day. How about you?
Um, um, I'm not bad. Today was a rough day. But concerning everything, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how was last week?
Last week was testing. It was a testing week.
Yes, it was a
Um,
testing week.
you know, I mean, we always have to bear in mind that everything that we teach, everything that we share, we are tested on it ourselves. You know, and so yeah, you have to go through your own file and to be proven. So it was a testing week for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Hi,
yeah, yeah,
Stephen. Thanks for joining.
yeah. And you know it was a testing week for me. Oh
I
my
know,
word. It was,
I know it was.
yeah. But you know what happened?
Hi, Kimmy.
God is faithful. Hey Kim, he's so faithful. He is so faithful. I'm so grateful. Let me just move into gratitude minute. I'm grateful that I have a relationship with God. I cannot imagine my life without that. Because when the moments come, locks them come hot and heavy. And it's like you're just like, if you don't have God, what do you do? You know?
Yeah,
What do you do? So I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful for a relationship, you know.
awesome.
Yeah.
Feel free to share
Your
your
gratitude.
one-liner on what you are grateful for. Anything that you want to just mention. For me, I believe this week I'm grateful for an aspect of how God operates in terms of his constant guidance and presence. As I said, this week was a testing week, but even when I am distancing myself a bit, he's pulling me back in. He's prompting me. He's not leaving me alone. He's still seeking and saving me in the moment. And I'm just grateful for that because people think that when you're saved, you become this perfect human being. You're still weak, you're still struggling, you're still learning. And every day isn't your best day.
Yeah.
We have the Holy Spirit, who God wisely gave to us as
Sure.
a gift, to be our friend, our counselor, our guide, our intercessor, our paracletes, everything. Like He's everything. So I'm really grateful for that. The fact that I have a living and live comeback facility. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Janice Dakers Jones, and I'm the CEO and founder of Biz Head Start Jamaica Limited. And we're focused on helping people build, from the very beginning, healthy, strong businesses, putting in the structure in place to build the businesses, so that when growth comes, they can run. And with me is,
Hi, everyone. Andrea Nicole McGibbon, founder of Disidentify. At Disidentify, our objective is to help reform the way that we live, the way that we relate to each other, and the way that we do business. All about kingdom principles very convinced that the ways of the world does not work. And so we are missioned to reform and establish the principles of the kingdom on earth.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm about.
that's who we are. So, tonight, what are we talking about tonight?
Tonight, we are talking about 5 ways to deal with worry. In recognition of all of what is going on around, like all of
Mhm.
what is going on around.
And in Jamaica today, it was a very heavy day, boy.
Oh boy. Yeah, it was. It was. But I mean, like everything, like if things could fall apart, a lot of things are falling apart for many people. The work environment, home environments,
Hmm.
the nation itself, questions about, security, uncertainty, financial concerns, the kids under attack. It's like every single area is now
Hmm.
pushing us towards this place of worry and fretting, you know. And I just want us to kind of tackle that today. I think it's timely that we do as people struggle with their individual lives, and not
Yeah.
many people talk or have the opportunity to talk about what they're dealing with. And so they're
Hmm.
also dealing with stuff on the inside quietly and privately, you know?
Yeah. 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 And I think about worry as sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the times, as far as I'm concerned, it's like a cancer eating away at you, um, in so many ways that you are you're not even recognizing, and if there was a PhD to be given for worry, I think I would have had one already. In my lifetime of worry, I've had many sleepless nights. I've lost weight. I've i've um i've gotten sick. I got a heart attack. They're just like so many things I've gotten from worry. So I think, I said that I put out, I saw a stat recently that said 98% of the things that you worry about never happen. And I'm living proof of that. So I won't tell you that I don't worry anymore. I just worry a whole lot
Less.
less,
Yeah.
you know.
I looked up the meaning of the word worry, and of
Mm.
course, it kind of surprised me a little bit. In that, we have these words that we use, and we just
Mhm.
accept the meaning or the context in which they're often used or said to us. But the word worry actually means to torment yourself. Torment!
Torment your own self.
Torment oneself with something or to suffer from a disturbing thought. So it is a choice
Wow.
to actually cause sufferation on yourself,
Oh,
right? Because worry takes effort. Another definition was to be or to cause to be anxious or uneasy. Again, to be means that you have to do something, right? This is your posture, your decision, your choice, your reaction to something. um and it's usually about something that is either uncertain, something that is potentially dangerous. Most of the time we worry about the past catching up on us, or we worry about the future not going the way that we hope to project.
mhm.
um, Oftentimes worry is not as much in the present because you're in that moment right now.
Mhm.
So it,
Mhm.
it actually takes you out of a space that is not even your space, but we're going to talk about that after.
Mhm.
Worry also means to disturb your peace of mind, right?
Woohoo.
Can you
Mm.
imagine? And it
What
also,
what I find what I find very interesting about all of these is what you're doing to yourself. It's not like anybody else doing it to you, you know. When you said to torment yourself, to disturb your own peace of mind, worry is it's something that we're
Struggle
doing to ourselves.
to struggle, and that was what was shocking when I looked at the meaning. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start looking up every word now, and that's what stood out for me. I said, hold on, but worry is really, really a choice. So when the Bible was saying, do not worry about what you will eat, what you will drink, what you will wear, oftentimes I said to God, what do you mean don't worry? Isn't worry like the automatic response? Isn't that like second nature to us? So why are you saying don't worry? But now you understand, because worry is a choice. You actually have to make an effort to worry about something. It's a choice.
Hey, Kadeen, welcome. Tell us some of the things you worry about, guys. What are some of the things you worry about? Yes, let's just call them out. What are some of the things you worry about?
Wow.
And if you're to think about, I remember I had a situation once, and let me tell you, I lost sleep for months over this thing. And when the thing that I was worrying about, God granted me such immense grace in the situation. I was just blown away. And I was like, I was so grateful to God. I was thanking him, and it's like him said to me, look how much sleep you lose.
And
Look how much
it
sleep
don't
you
change
lose.
anything.
And it never changed anything. It was God who changed the situation for me.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah,
amazing. I mean,
yeah.
and you'd think, right, that after every episode that you said to yourself, I'm not going to worry again. Oh, please. It's kind of like an automatic thing that you have to catch it, because
Yes.
it's almost like we're programmed. That's one of the things that you do coming up, or you even see your parents doing, or you see other people doing, and you just think that it's something that you must do.
Right, right.
you know
Need
um
to
we
nurture.
have, yeah. And you say to yourself, well, that's something I do. I say, mommy worried about it. See, mommy worried about finances. I should be worried about it too. Yeah,
So
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the shares, Kadeen says, well, some of the things that we worry about: health,
Hmm.
security. Kim says work,
And family.
family. I mean, anything that we care about, anyone that we care about, but anything also that involves what we need.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing about it is that the word says that my God shall supply all our needs according to his riches in glory. And so you will see that God is saying, listen, I supply your need. But then we are wired and programmed to think, one, that we are the one who has to supply our needs.
Hmm.
And when our circumstances threaten our ability to supply that need, that's when the worry kicks in.
Yeah.
When my need is threatened, when my need is reduced, when somebody comes into the picture and takes my space, all of these things now begin to work you up, and that's when the struggle comes.
But doesn't that take into consideration a level of control?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a control thing. Here's God saying, listen, I take care of the birds, the flowers. I'm your
I'm not
heavenly
gonna put it
father.
like them.
I'm your heavenly father. Why would I not take care of you? And
Yeah.
you say, Lord, I believe. But the minute we just take up and start to worry, and because we think it's something that we need to do. And I keep going back to something that we talk about all the time. It's being aware. It's being aware. I remember when I was a really chronic worrier, I would be lost in this thought of worry. Sometimes I lose a good 20-minute patch because I'm going through all the possible scenarios of what could happen, right? And um, not forgetting, right? So this is me. I'm going to church. I'm reading my Bible and da da da. But I'm still actively worried. And so, in another thing that comes to me is, one is control, but two is unbelief. I had unbelief in my heart, because if I read this Bible and I say I believe in God, but I don't believe that He says He'll supply all my needs. And at the same time, by the way, I'm pleading, God, please help me. Please
Mm,
help me. It's just a kind of a weird dichotomy that,
yeah. And it's you know what, one of the things I've realized, Jan, is that even the concept of unbelief, is a moment by moment thing.
Mhm,
Because when I think of unbelief, apart from the word on being not,
mhm,
it also means to undo. So
mhm,
sometimes you genuinely, at a stage and a point in time, believe what God says, and the
mhm,
hope is in your heart, and you leave and you're going with all of that, and then the things around you begin to shift. Just like Peter when he was walking on the water, he started walking on the water, but
mhm.
then his attention turned to
Good.
the waves and the wind that was around him, and then he began to sink. And it's the same thing with us. We have our belief, we start out strong. Today we're strong, and then tomorrow something happens and it just throws us totally out. And then we go in a state of unbelief because we've literally undone our belief and replaced it with
With
another
fear.
belief. We've now decided to say, oh my God, I am in trouble. Oh my God, I am going to lose. I am going to die. This is going to mash up. I am not going to have food. I'm going to starve. And then we start believing something else. And so, once you can't believe two things, contrary
And
things at the same time. So
mhm,
in that moment, you move into a state of unbelief because you say, God, I don't believe you, or God, I don't trust you to do this thing for me. And so therefore you say, you know what, I trust myself, come you know me.
mhm.
Right. And then you end up now going back into this place of taking back control.
Yeah. Kim says worry is taking our eyes off Jesus.
It is. It is. It is.
It
And
really
all
is.
that he is, whether it's Jesus, your imagery of him, Jesus the word, because he is the word, he is the spirit, in every form, literally taking your eyes and even your heart.
Yeah. There's a thing about worry though that is very involved with um our feelings.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it plays on your every insecurity, everything you're unsure of just becomes magnified in that moment. So if you felt any way about anything, all of a sudden it comes into play, and it's almost like everything is conspiring against you to not believe.
Yeah. And that's why you said initially the importance, one of the most powerful things, and we've been saying it on this program, awareness.
Yeah,
Awareness, being
yeah,
aware. You
being
can't do
aware of
anything
the
about
thoughts.
something that you're not aware of. And
Yeah.
that's what it is. Being aware now is also recognizing that, listen, there are two minds working here. My feelings are what they are. My nature, based on how I've been nurtured and cultured all how much years of my life, that has not left me. And then now
Mhm.
here is a new culture, a new mind that has been introduced, a new way of living. You have
Mhm.
to navigate the space with both realities, right? And if you're
Yeah.
not aware, first of all, that there are two realities,
You
you
can't
already
choose
lose.
not
You
to
already
believe.
lose.
Yeah, already lose.
You've already
And
lost the game.
yeah, and so the verse that comes to mind, it says that for a long time I said, God, I don't understand this enough. It says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And you can't renew your mind without being aware. You
Yeah.
just cannot. You
You
just
can't
cannot.
renew your mind unless there's something to be made new again. So there's
Yes,
something that exists
yes,
before.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So if you're a baby Christian, If you are a baby Christian, right, and you are trying to figure this thing out, um, there's certain truths that you just need to get, and those things take time. One, read your Bible. Or when you don't understand it, read your Bible. After a while, the word will just start to change your heart, right? That's my experience. And be diligent about it. You know, we have something that we use called a power connection. There, every day you connect with God in a particular way. I think um, it's on your website, Andrea, if I'm not mistaken, or is it in your book? It's probably
Uh,
in your book.
it's, it's my book,
Right.
but it
But
should be on Go for God's
right.
website.
So the whole idea is that you're connecting with God every day, and the more you connect, just like with anything else, the more you connect, the more consistent you are, the more you understand, the more you learn, etc., etc. And of course, your experiences, you grow and learn from your experiences. So we're not by any chance telling you that, oh, you can just, oops, stop worrying. No, even experienced Christians, people who've been Christians for many years, worry. Exhibit A. Um,
Exactly.
but I'm becoming more and more aware. So the more and more aware I become, is the less I do it. Or if it comes on, I'm able to say, no, not going down that road. You know, I used to say, all right, here we go again, down the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole is a very dangerous place
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard to, once you start thinking
Come
those,
back up.
it's
Yeah.
hard to come back up,
Yeah.
right? And so it's really important. So let's talk about the 5 ways that we can deal with worry, Andrea.
Okay. The first one for me, so I have a thing with having similarities. So the first one for me is protesting.
Hmm.
And I use the word protest because it has to be a very militant, purposeful, attack on something that exists and something that is contrary to you. Again, if you're not aware, if you don't recognize that what is working against you, then you're going to be lackadaisical, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then, of course, nothing will change. But when you
Hmm.
recognize that you literally have to be very purposeful and responsible in your posture, and that you now have to confront something because you now have to say, no, not you, but I'm going to yield to this. You literally are rejecting one and
Hmm.
replacing and accepting another. So there
Yeah,
is a posture of protesting. But again, you can't protest unless you are aware or
yeah,
unless you know what you are protesting against.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love the word protest because it's it's active.
Yeah.
It's active. So it can't be just a passive, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Listen, the enemy of your soul is pacing
Mhm.
to and fro, seeking to devour you. End of story. Right? So if somebody is coming at you with guns and knives, and what are you gonna do? You're going to respond in like manner, right? You're not going to just roll over and say, oh, have your way. No, you're going to say no. It's an active way. So I really think perhaps the first way is to be aware again.
Mhm.
Awareness, we cannot stress that enough.
You have to find a P word though.
Yeah? You have to kind of
You have to perceive. You have to
perceive.
perceive.
You have to perceive. Andrea loves patterns, right? So if you'll find that she has all P's this evening in terms of what are the 5 ways. What's number 2?
Um, the second one, guys, is actually perspective,
Hmm.
right? How you see things and how you see yourself, right, will determine if you are going to be head or the tail, or whether you're going to be at the front or the back,
You're going to
right?
be a victor or a victim.
Or a victim or a victor. So
Right.
even the idea of protesting, I was gonna say, so I'm happy that we went to number 2. Your image of yourself is important.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you don't accept that you are a royal priesthood and a holy nation.
Oh
If
boy.
you think, say, you are nothing and you're not created with purpose and you're just there and you're just a statistics, then you've already lost the battle and you're not going to protest. Who fights for what they don't think is
They
worthy?
don't believe in, right?
Right. So you have to recognize that you are worth it. You are valuable. You were created by God. You are in his image and his likeness. Right. And irrespective of what people's opinions are, they didn't create you. So they don't know you.
Yeah.
Who God says you are is what is important. And he values you. He wouldn't be doing all of this if he didn't see value in us.
Yeah.
It's a love story and he loves us deeply. But don't get it wrong, there is so much value in every single human being, and God has placed so much inside of us, right? And that's why this pursuit of love, this wooing continues, the seeking and saving continues. Now it's time for us to recognize, hold on, me not washy, right? Me not just another person. I am a child of God. I was created in the image and the likeness of the Creator,
Hmm.
right? And so your perspective of yourself is just so important.
It's absolutely important because when I was pursuing my PhD in worry, I had a very low self-esteem. I really did. I really, really did. And let me tell you, I got bashed in over the head. I got the whole works because I just thought, well, who am I anyway? I probably deserve it. Nobody thinks I'm this. Nobody thinks I'm that. And then, just very victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. And I think I've told the story here before of being in a prayer meeting and this lady comes over to me and says, God just showed me a picture of how he sees you. And she says, I saw you as a queen, and you were in royal clothes and you had on all of these beautiful gems and all of these things. And, just really, she said the picture was so beautiful. And she says, God says, that's how he sees you. And I was very surprised at it because I guess God knew the little victim stories I was telling. But anyway, um, and listen, when I tell you that whole experience just made me straighten up. And so now when it comes, I'm able to most times say, do you know who I am? You know, it's a different posture that is being met with now. It's because now I am clear about my identity. I'm clear. I'm like, listen, if my father sees me as this, why should I think less? Why would I not agree with him? Certainly his way is better than mine, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
Um, we have to come in alignment. We have to come in agreement with who God says we are.
And again, that comes, that's another area, Jan, that requires effort,
Hmm.
because it's easy to just fall back into the norm, into the culture, into what everybody else says, into the opinions, into the popular opinions. It's so easy. And you have to be purposeful and intentional about
Absolutely.
going against the grain.
And it's also about, in my mind, setting boundaries for yourself, right? If you spend a lot of time on Instagram for argument's sake, and by the time you finish, you're feeling very deflated and that kind of thing, take it off of your phone.
And
Stop
trust
watching those
me, it
things.
happens.
It
I can
happens.
tell you, Jesus,
You end up
jeez.
comparing yourself to people and all of that kind of drama. Listen, if that whole experience makes you feel bad about yourself, listen, put a guardrail in place. And that guardrail is to delete that app off your phone. Trust me. If there's no reason that you're going to tell me that you have to have it there, you don't have to have it there. You
Yeah,
really
and
don't.
even for seasons, because it may mean if you're intentionally working on, shaping your identity, building your confidence in Christ, then it may be okay. I'm gonna put Instagram down for a season.
Yeah.
until I am more mature to handle it and to deal with it.
Right. Absolutely. What's our next point?
So the third one for me is, so we did mention perspective. I must mention image of self, which is where it starts before I go to the third one. But then there's also the perspective of life, the perspective of God, the perspective of other people, because all of it intertwines, right? We're in this world and there is God, there are family members, as annoying as they may be sometimes, that the people will have to work with, right? This is a dynamic now that you also have to form a perspective of. And again, we recognize that trusting culture and how we're nurtured is not safe, it's not foolproof. So the question is, what is God saying about that? So,
Mm-hmm.
perspective in terms of a way of dealing with worry is being so intentional about shaping and renewing your mind, improving your understanding, and also how you relate to every element of your reality, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it starts with you first, but then there's also a perspective of other people. And when
Mm-hmm.
you realize that you are of worth, then you're also going to realize that the other people are of worth. And that's how you improve your relationship. But if you feel that you are not worthy, then you're gonna go around treating people like they're not worthy either.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with
Mm-hmm.
you.
That's a major point there, girl.
Yeah, it has to start with you, but then it continues to making sure that the perspective you have of others, the perspective you have of God, this perspective you have of life lines up with what God says. So we're back to the word again because that's the only foolproof,
Yeah.
thing that we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. 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 And I'm gonna go back to another guardrail, as you mentioned, perspective of other people around you. Sometimes you have to install a guardrail because there are people around you who will actually encourage you to worry.
Yeah, yeah.
There are people around you with like, it's almost like they're trying to make you feel like you don't care if you don't worry. That's a lie. That's a lie.
It's just what they know. I mean, they
It's
don't know
what
any
they know,
difference.
right? It's what they know. So, you are, something is happening and you are at peace because you've chosen to trust God in the situation. And the perspective is that, boy, look how she don't care. It's not that you don't care, So sometimes you have to set guardrails around who, in those situations, who you have around you. Are there going to be people who encourage you to trust God? Or are there going to be people who encourage you to worry?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the third one is praise and worship.
Mm.
That's one of my
Mhm.
favorite ones. The thing about praise and worship, guys, is that, you enter into his gates with thanksgiving, you come into his courts with praise. His gates and his courts tells you that you're relocating to a realm that is different. So you are here right now and you're seeing all of the threats, all of the concerns, all of your worries, all of your fears. In praise and worship, what you are doing is coming out of that space and now entering into God's space. When we enter into God's space, it's his domain, his presence that now takes over. You don't need to come there perfect, you just need to come there humble. Right?
Yeah, but Andrea, it's the last thing I feel like doing when I'm worrying.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the
And
last
again, that's why
thing.
it has to be intentional.
Yes, put more people say to you, praise and worship. People say, listen, you don't understand what's happening here. You don't understand. But let me tell you from experience, HD in worrying over here. Let me tell you from experience. I love how you put it, that you're shifting locations. It's almost like you're going into an atmosphere that is totally void of worry, totally void of the need for worry. So you're now stepping, if people love to talk about their happy place, let me tell you, this is going to your happy place. But you have to be intentional about going into your happy place, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can adequately explain what happens when you are in a situation where things seem like they're falling apart and you choose to go into praise and worship, my experience has been it's like somebody lift a weight off my shoulder. I feel free, I feel light. I have this peace that I completely don't understand. And I've learned over the years that whenever I experience this peace, I know where it's from, right? When he talks about the peace that passeth all understanding, the peace that you don't have a clue, because it doesn't make sense that you should have this peace in the middle of this turmoil. And
Right.
so when you have that, you know that it's God. But I'm
Mhm.
telling you, when you choose to step into that place of praise and worship, and sometimes, to be very honest, guys, I have to be real. I don't feel like it. But you see, what I do to force myself over into I just put on the praise and worship music. And praise and worship, God knows your heart. After a while, you're just gonna start singing along and entering into that
Right.
atmosphere that is completely different from what you were in, you know.
Completely
Um,
different.
and I'd like to point out that people are intentional with worry when they decide to step into another place. That's why people smoke. They're trying to go to a different place. That's why people drink. They're trying to go to a different place.
And to
That's why
escape.
people to escape. But there is no need to escape. Hey, Nikki, there's just like no need to escape, right? There's you the same way you intentionally go drink or go smoke or go do anything like that. It's the same way you can just decide that, you know what, I'm going to go into the presence, because in the presence there's fullness of joy. Why would I not choose joy over worry?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's and again I can't emphasize how much intentionality comes to play,
Hmm.
because it's not that you ever say, no, I don't really want joy. No, I don't want peace. I don't want joy. Give me turmoil. Give me chaos. That's what I want. Nobody does that.
Yeah, nobody does that.
But because it is the path of least resistance, it's what we know,
Hmm.
right? It's what's around us, it's what's readily available. We automatically go there. And so now to go to a praise and worship, that takes effort. And that's why we have to be so intentional, right? That's why we have to be so aware so that in that moment, you can size up what is going on and make a decision. And even though you don't feel it, you go against your feelings, you go against your thoughts
Go against
because you
culture.
know, you go against culture because you know your answer is there, right? So here's the thing now, you don't have to worry about, am I going to be worshiping truthfully? Just take the first step. And the first step is enter into his presence with thanksgiving. We
Praise.
always start our lives with a gratitude moment, and that's a part of the step, right? You don't have to think far. What has he done for you today that you can say thank you for? What are you grateful for? What is going well in your life that you can honestly say, boy, God, thank you.
And
While
then
I'm
that shifts the entire posture,
That's the
that
point.
shifts your entire posture, because in that moment you have to stop worrying to think about what am I grateful for. Oh, but I have this and I have that and I have that. And the minute you start that train of thought, it galvanizes, and then it's
Changes.
easier for you to go into that place.
Changes. So you
Yeah.
see, God's wisdom is you do this, and I have set things in motion to help you now to progress to that place of worship and praise. So you're never ever on your own, but you start with thanksgiving. And then He's helping you because as you're giving thanks, you're attracting Him. You're attracting heaven towards you. And let me tell you, when you go into that space, I want you to just imagine this. You are going into a realm that you don't control, a realm that is different from the natural, a realm that don't have the crosses that we're trying to avoid, right? And you're going into his domain. As you
Mhm.
go with your humility and your desperation to say, God, I need your help, what happens is that heaven opens in your reality. So you're coming out of your reality, but you're also representing your reality at the same time. So you're going into God's space, and how God responds is that he comes down into your reality. So the very things that you are worried about, God is now working on your behalf when you are busy in praise and worship. Or he will give you answers, and all of a sudden the burden is lifted and you're light and you can see things differently. You may come out and say, oh, I'll just be still, I'll just wait. Or you may get a direct answer.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. But the point is, praise and worship connects you to heaven.
Yeah.
It connects you to heaven.
And
So
who wouldn't want to be connected to
here?
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be connected to heaven?
Yeah. So the word says, draw near to me and I will draw near to you.
Yeah.
So you do the first drawing near by starting with thanksgiving. And God says, I will draw near to you. So you don't have to worry. He will come into your space. He will come into your life. He will come into your worry trigger. And all you're doing is praise and worship.
Yeah. And praise and worship just disarms that whatever bomb you were worried about. It disarms it.
Yeah.
It completely disarms it. And there are so many things, so many things that could possibly happen and could go wrong. But there's nothing that surprises God. When the song that we used to sing as children was, he's got the whole world in his hands.
In his hands.
He has everything and everyone in his hands. And there are times things may happen. He may allow things to happen, but that does not make him not God, or that he's not in control, right? And so it's important that we look at what are the weapons, what are the tools I have that he has given me. And praise and worship is actually a weapon in the spirit. It is, and so he doesn't leave us. He says, my favorite verse, his divine power has given us everything that we need. Everything that we need.
Given us, done. You have it.
We already have it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
What's the next one, Miss?
So number 4, quite connected to this, is prayer. So prayer is a little bit different from, praise and worship. Prayer now is conversation with God. And prayer happens in that same space where, first of all, your posture changes. The fact that you're going to have a conversation and the fact that you're going to make a request, your posture changes in terms of that humility, right? You are recognizing that he is sovereign and he is able to make a difference in your life, and you're seeking his intervention. And so prayer comes with a posture of recognizing his supremacy, and also recognizing your need for him. But prayer is just conversation. Prayer is where you ask God questions. Prayer is where you make your petitions known. He says, ask, tell me what you want, tell me what your needs are. But prayer is also where you let the load go. It's the place where you let the load go. So as you make the request, you leave the request. That's the idea. So if you're trusting God and you're recognizing his sovereignty, in that posture of prayer, you're saying, this is what is worrying me. This is what is tormenting me right now, Lord. This is what I'm struggling with. It's making me anxious. It's making me uncertain. It's making me uneasy. I'm taking it to him as an offering, and I'm saying, God, please help me in this area. You got to leave it there. Because if you take it back up, then it's no longer with God. It's back on your head. And so the prayer is also the place of offloading, unloading what is worrying you and what is threatening to take away your peace.
And I must point out here that There are some things that you're gonna have to put down daily because it's gonna threaten your peace every day. Daily you have to get and say, Lord, I'm putting this back down again. I'm putting it down and I'm putting it down until it's no more. Just
Yeah.
like I don't have it. Because there are times, especially when there are things that are near and dear to your heart, like your children, you know, um, like your spouse or your parents or whatever. Those things are near and dear to your heart. It's very difficult not to, you know. So you have to like listen and that's where prayer becomes like really important daily, or minutely sometimes, dependent on what is happening. Where you're saying, God, I'm sorry, I took it back up. I'm sorry, I'm giving it back to you. He understands he understands, but you just have to just keep putting it
Yeah.
down until you're no longer taking it out. So it's not a easy genie fix that we're talking about here. We're talking
Yeah.
about that some things you can just put it down and say, God, I'm giving this one to you. And then some things every day they're up in your face, up in your face, up in your face, and you just have to just keep laying it down until you don't have to anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Jesus describes himself as I am the bread of life, right?
Mhm.
And if you think about it, bread, which represents a source of sustenance and nourishment, this is something you need every single day.
Yeah.
So if you say to yourself, how often do I need bread? Most of us stand up 3 times a day, but at least 1 time a day if you're not fasting, you want your bread. So it's the same thing. Everything Jesus, whether it's praise and worship, prayer, all of the reading your Bible, these are daily things that you have to do. It's literally just like manna. It's something that you have to do every single day to maintain yourself
Mm,
each day
mm.
to each day. If you stop, you are going to be malnourished. You're going to be weakened. You're not dead, but you can feel the difference when your consistency goes, right? When your devotion time begins to wane, when you don't worship as much, you can feel the difference. Just like when
Yeah,
you don't eat, you get headaches, you
yeah,
feel nauseous, you feel weak, right? So everything is the same principle. If you want to be nourished, you have to maintain a good diet that is consistent and healthy.
yeah.
It's the same thing with our
Absolutely.
spiritual life.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. Last one.
You don't want to take the last one, that's your area. So the last one is being present.
Ooh. That's for sure. Being present is very simply put, you're not living in the past, you're not living in the future, you are living in the now. And living in the now means that I deal with what's in front of me now. More often, I mean, when I think you had said it initially, that worry is usually about what happened in the past or what's to come. We're worried about what will happen. The truth is that we have no control over the future nor the past because it's done gone already. The only thing we have control over is now. What will my action be now? What will I choose to do now? So I'm having a problem with my child. What do I do now? Do I worry about it? Do I pray about it? Do I seek God's intervention? What do I do? Do I praise and worship? What do I do? Right? It's the now.
It's enough.
What will I do right now? Because I can't affect before and after. I cannot. There's nothing. Remember, I said that 98% about of the things you worry about don't happen. So it's almost like you're here wasting time, depleting your brain cells. And don't get me started on that one because it is scientifically proven that when you worry, you kill off your brain cells. Let me say that again. You are killing your brain cells when you worry. When we worry, we kill brain cells. The neurons, they just die. When you start to praise, when you start to live in hope and think positive thoughts, you grow new neurons. So if you spend a half of the day worrying, you've killed some cells up there, man.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
killed, you've reduced your capacity by worrying. And if that is not a turn off, so number one, let's go back to the definitions. It's to torment yourself. So here you are tormenting yourself, and in the process, killing off brain cells.
Suffering
Suffering. You're
from
choosing,
disturbing thoughts.
yeah, from disturbing thoughts. And remember now, it's a choice. Believe you me, it's a choice.
To
It is a
cause or be anxious
to cause or be anxious. You had said
about
another very scary
something.
one. Huh?
Eh?
You
To
said
disturb the peace of mind.
yes, to disturb your peace of mind. Now, why would we want to do that? Let me tell you something, guys.
Trap. Worry is a trap.
It's a trap.
It is
That's
a
what
trap.
it is. It's a trap.
But
It's a
just to
trap.
comment on the now, before we go into the general, um, the Bible says today is a day of salvation. Now is a time. Um, and I know a lot of us think it's talking about when you're saved, as a Christian, but it's when you're saved and also when you're being saved every single day. So salvation doesn't end. It's not
Mhm.
the same salvation, but salvation doesn't end. So right now you're worried about things that are not working or you fear will not work out. You're worried about things that scare you. You're worried about scarcity. You are worried about lack, all of those things. You're worried about not being loved, not being approved. You're worried about not leaving a legacy for your kids. You're worried about your security, all of those things that you worry about. And they matter to you. But
Mhm.
in the now, you need God's help. You need Him to save you from that worry that's tormenting and causing your brain cells to die and suffering and robbing your peace of mind. It's not easy for us to do it on our own. It's very, very hard. And so we need God to save us in that moment. And so when
Mhm.
He says now is the time of salvation, He's also talking about how do you access my help? If you're locked in the past, you can't
Mm.
access His help. If
Mm.
you're tripping over the future and going through what if scenarios and completing pictures that haven't even existed, and you're filling in gaps and you don't control time, right? You're not going to access God there either. The only place that you can access God, the only place that you can now start to pray, start to get the praise and worship, the only place that you can now get perspective, the only place that you can begin to protest is
It's
if you
now.
are now present. Only place, because that's the only realm that God has given mankind.
Now.
Now, that's it. That's the only power we have to effect a change. It's now. And so the enemy wants us to be locked in the past so that you do nothing. In fact, you do nothing now so that your future can be worse, right?
Yeah.
He wants you
Yeah.
to be locked in the future so that right now you spend the whole time worrying and your brain cells are dying. He's shifting you from your focus. You're not thinking about God and your life is just going downhill. That's the enemy's plan. But what did God say? He said, be present, be sober, be aware, be watchful,
Be alert.
be alert. He told us, He gave us all of these warnings so that we escape the trap that the enemy has set for us. So being present is also one of the weapons, right? That we use, and it's one of the strategies that we use to make sure that we're connected with God, but also to make sure we block out the enemy. Now is where we connect with God. Now is the only place that we can find God, right? And so being present becomes so important. What does that mean? As Jan was saying, what's going on right now? I had a serious issue with being present. And I found for years, I lost years from my child's life because I was always what ifing, always planning in the future, always worrying. And so you're missing out the experiences now. You're also missing the wisdom because the answers are also now. And so if
Yeah.
you're locked in the future, you're not going to get the answers that you need to make sure that your future is brighter and better. Right? So being present is just so important, guys. So important. Worry is a trap. Worry is a strategy of the enemy to get us to not be who we are, to get us to ensure that we're not in the image and likeness of God, to get us to ensure that we're not connected with Him, right? To get us to not praise and worship Him because we're so consumed with worry, to get us to do nothing rather than protesting, to get
Mm-hmm.
us to not have perspective and to judge our situations wrongly. So we just get it wrong. Worry is a trap.
Definite trap.
And that's why God says, do not
Worry.
worry.
Mm-hmm.
Do not worry. Because if you worry, it gonna kill you. It gonna rob from you. It's gonna destroy you.
Yep. Literally.
Literally, physically,
Mentally,
spiritually,
spiritually.
the
Yeah.
future, your outlook, your family, everything is affected when you allow yourself to be consumed by worry. You're agitated, you're snapping at the people around you. You're addicted to stuff. So now, like me, like chocolate is my best friend. But chocolate not so bad if I go dark. But drugs and alcohol, and when it's out of control, it's gonna affect your weight, it's gonna affect your health, it's gonna affect your lungs. And little by little, you're just noticing you're destroying. That's not your intention, You never start
Mm.
this to go destroy yourself. And that's why it's a trap.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you perhaps when you wake up, you're like, how
How did
did
I
I
get
get
here?
here?
How did I
You
get
know?
here?
Yeah. I call it the rabbit hole, boy. You go down that rabbit hole, the amount of curves and turns that by the time you're trying to come back out, you have no idea where or how. And
Hard.
that's really, but the good thing about the rabbit hole is that God knows the way.
He is everywhere. He can find us everywhere.
Let me tell
And
you, there's
we can
nowhere.
also find him everywhere. So it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
You can start praying. You can start worshiping and praising. Silas and those guys were in a dungeon. And that's when they started worshiping God. And then all the chains and all the doors of the prisons were open. Understand it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. Start doing these 5 P's, and you will see God turn up and transform your situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, guys, if you're new here, welcome. Please like and subscribe and share this channel. We are here every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we are talking about things that concern our faith and how we
And
work
everyday living, the
and
real
everyday
stuff
living.
that we struggle with.
Yeah, the real stuff that you don't really talk about, but you wonder about, or maybe you talk about it to maybe one or two people, but we want to bring those things into the open, and we want to help people to transform the way they think and they live and the way they experience God, you know. Um, so thanks for joining us. And as usual, we look forward to your thoughts and your comments, and share this video with someone who you think can benefit from it.
Yeah, especially someone who tends to be locked. Again, it's a rabbit hole. So once you
Yeah.
start, it's kind of hard if you don't get an external assistance to help pull you up. And God is still there talking to you, but because you're so encircled with worry, you can't even hear him, much less respond to him. And so if you know someone who is suffering from that kind of torment, share it with them and even encourage them to get help, to get some kind of intervention, someone who can guide them at that point in time and help lead them to the Lord to get the help.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining, guys. We hope you
Thank
enjoyed the conversation. We did.
Yes, we usually do. And if you have any questions, please shoot them at us. And if you have any topics that you want, would love to hear us discuss. Please don't be afraid to share.
Okay.
Okay, have a good
All right, guys.
evening.
See you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.